Welcome to Motors and Medicine. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the importance of good hydration, primarily, obviously, from the water that we drink. Now, hydration is of utmost importance, especially now that we're getting into the summer months and we're spending a lot of time outdoors, recreating, spending a lot of hours in the sun. And like I mentioned in the previous video, our skin is a big organ. It's the largest organ on our body, and we want our skin to be protected against sunburn, and being hydrated as a part of that equation, along with the proper SPF sun protection that I mentioned in the previous video. Now, when it comes to hydration, the biggest thing to focus on is how much should we drink and what should we be drinking, okay? But before that, let's talk about why it's important to be well hydrated. Just about every function in the body requires water to take place appropriately. Now, our bodies, head to toe, we're made up of about 70% of water. And so without proper balances of water and other things that we have in our bodies, functions within our bodies are not going to operate optimally. And I'm just going to give you a few examples. So without proper hydration, we're not going to have proper cellular function, respiration. We're not going to produce the right kind or the right amounts of surfactant in our lungs. We're not going to be able to transport proteins and other molecules to and from and in and out of cells, maintaining what we call oncotic and osmotic pressures. So every function in the body requires proper water levels and proper hydration. Now, what the average, right now, this is according to the Mayo Clinic, the average water consumption should be around 3.7 liters per day for a male and 2.7 liters per day for a female. And that includes all of your water intake, not just water that is consumed, but water, or rather water that's been consumed through drinking, but also other liquids that were consumed, like juices, sodas, coffee, tea, that kind of stuff. And the food that you consume also contains water. And I would say about roughly 20% of that necessary percentage of 3.7 liters per day for men, 2.7 for women, 20% of those figures comes from the food that you eat. So at the end of the day, a good rule of thumb is to try to get about 8 glasses of water per day. Sometimes that's just not possible. Sometimes we carry a big jug of water throughout the day. Sometimes we're better at it than others when it comes to consuming the right amounts of water. At the end of the day, you just want to stay hydrated. And for most people that are relatively active, your body's going to tell you when you need to drink, okay? It's when you get distracted, when you're out in the sun, when you're out recreating, playing, having fun, and you lose track of time. That's when dehydration can become an issue, because if you get distracted and you're not focused on listening to your body when it tells you, hey, you need to drink some water and stay hydrated, that's when things start to have issues. So that's when we start to have problems with first dehydration, and then of course that can lead to things that are more significant and severe, like heat exhaustion and then heat stroke and things that you just don't want to deal with. And of course, along the way, you can also deal with very severe and significant sunburn because your skin is not well hydrated and of course not well protected. So here's a good tip. What I try to tell people, what I've told patients in the past, just, try to have like a few sips of water, like, every 15, 20 minutes or so. Or you can try to do, like, say, a glass of water an hour. But it really just depends on your activity levels. 8 glasses of water per day is just a general rule of thumb. And some people can make that happen. Some people will drink more. Some people will drink less. It just depends on how active you are, how big you are. The more surface area you have on your body, the more water you're going to need. So there's a lot of different things that are taken into account there, as well as the diet that you consume. Some diets are very rich in carbohydrates, and so that's going to require a little bit more water. And then of course, if you're eating a lot more meat than say a person that is a vegetarian, that changes how much water you may require, not just for maintaining good hydration, but also for proper metabolism and functions. But one thing that I used to tell my patients, if you're really like, especially now during the summer months, if you're really out and about, whether it's working or recreating, drinking water, of course, is the most ideal and optimal thing to do. Sometimes you can't always find water, and there's often times where you might want to drink something else, and any liquid is better than no liquid, of course. But one thing that I used to tell my patients is just try to do a mixture. If you're going to have a water bottle, try to do a mixture of, say, like a half, either a third to a half of Gatorade and the rest water. So it's kind of like diluted Gatorade or Powerade or whatever you choose. The reason for that is because sometimes when you drink just a lot of water alone, it kind of makes you go more frequently to the bathroom, and so you're losing a lot of water, which is not a bad thing because you do want to keep your kidneys flushed. And a good way to tell whether you're hydrated or not is the color of your urine. Just look at the urine that you're eliminating, and if it's either super clear or just light in like a yellowish color, you're doing pretty well. You're not concentrating your urine too much. The longer you go without water, the more loops and passes that same water continues to do throughout your body, doing metabolic function. And every time it does that, it's getting more and more concentrated. So when you start to notice that your urine gets really dark yellow, or even starts to get really dark, and even starts to change maybe to like a tea color, something like that, I mean, that's when you're frankly dehydrated and you're headed towards something like heat exhaustion, maybe even heat stroke, and you're going to damage your kidneys. So just keep an eye on the color of the urine that you're excreting. But a good way to keep hydrated when you're out and about, when you're out and active in the sun, and you're out, let's say, hiking or biking or just, out on some trails, that kind of thing, you're going to have water with you, of course. But if you're going to be out for a long time, sometimes you just can't keep enough water in your system for a long period of time. And that's where using a good balance of electrolytes comes in. Because electrolytes are those things, they're like your salts. You've got potassium and calcium, magnesium, things like that. But these salts are what kind of help keep water in the cell, keeping the cells hydrated, instead of in the extracellular space where water can be quickly eliminated and pushed into the circulation to the kidneys, where it's going to get excreted much more efficiently. You really want to hold on to water as long as possible, as efficiently as possible. So if you're going to be active out in the sun, then it's a good thing to do is to mix plain water with like maybe just either a third or to half of that water bottle with Gatorade. And that way you're getting a diluted mix of Gatorade, which is going to have some electrolytes, but not too much, because if you're consuming just pure Gatorade or just pure Powerade, now you have like too high a concentration of electrolytes, and that may draw water from the cells into the extracellular space. We don't want to do that either. We don't want to draw from the cells, nor do we want to be taking in too much into the cells. We want to kind of find a good balance. And so a good way to do that is just to kind of do a mix of water with, say, some type of electrolyte. And you don't even have to use Gatorade. You can just do like an electrolyte pouch mix and throw it in with your water, that kind of thing. Those type of mixes tend to help you stay hydrated the best when you're out in the sun, when you're out recreating, biking, hiking, spending a lot of time doing sports, whatever it is outside. So as long as you focus on balancing your water intake and staying well hydrated, you'll eliminate those issues with dehydration, drying of your skin and your lips, which of course leads to more issues. And then of course you start getting into heat exhaustion and heat stroke. These are things that you just totally and completely want to avoid. You don't want to wind up causing damage to your kidneys. You don't want to wind up with an ER visit. So that's why it's just good to always stay focused on remembering your hydration levels. Keep an eye on your urine and what it looks like every time you go, and then do a good balance of the kind of hydration that you're consuming. So depending on your level of activity and how long you're staying outside, maybe consider doing a water bottle that's got a mix of a little bit of electrolyte and then water, so that it's a little diluted, but it's got a good balance of electrolytes. And if you follow these easy steps, you'll be well hydrated. You won't have any issues when you're out and about. and you won't wind up with issues that are going to cause you major discomfort and major detriment in the future. So hopefully this information was helpful. Hopefully you guys can just be cautious out there. Everybody loves to have fun and recreate during the summertime. We just need to stay hydrated. Let's just stay hydrated. Don't cause yourself any kidney damage. And if you like this information, please hit the thumbs up, give it a thumbs up, a like, and then if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. And on the next video, we're gonna get back into the cars and continue with our series of car reviews. And until then, this is Motors and Medicine signing off.